William Afton killed 5 children in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Did the police capture him? We know they didn't. After the supposed conviction, he attacked the pizzeria again and again. He wasn't brought to justice. He always comes back. Many sources explain that the police couldn't prove a thing as they didn't find the bodies. If we take safe room into account, the cameras saw the kids follow the yellow rabbit but then disappear, and there was nowhere for the employee to hide them, so he couldn't do it. He was considered innocent. There are many fun ideas and headcanons we can build around that. Even though the games don't state that directly, it makes a lot of sense. It's either that or William escaped prison. But let me ask you a different question. Did Scott initially intend for the masked employee to be convicted? That's an entirely different situation because we're talking about FNAF 1 in August 2014. There was no FNAF 2. So we didn't know the purple guy would return. There were no external media to say that he avoided conviction. And we know that Scott didn't plan the story ahead. So what was he trying to convey through FNAF 1? Can we prove that the killer was always supposed to run free? I don't think we can. That's because FNAF 1 is a story of hopelessness. Help wanted. A local family pizzeria is looking for a security guard. The pay is not good, but the hours are worse. There is an important criterion for hiring: no friends or close family who would miss you. The job is dangerous because the animatronics are possessed and the ghosts believe you killed them. You stuffed their bodies into the costumes, so they want to return the favor. The previous night guard wasn't the killer, and he's missing. The one before and the one earlier were innocent, but they couldn't persuade the ghosts. But maybe, just maybe, you are the one. Perhaps the souls will finally find peace after they get you. That's the setting of the story. Suffering. The victims are restless. They were hurt and they hurt everyone around them. The night guards are put into a hopeless situation. They cannot fight back and they only defend. The pizzeria is in a pitiful state. They have long lost any shred of reputation. They are unethical. They keep using dangerous machines and cover up the murders. They reap what they sow and their business is slowly coming to a close. So where is that story going? Will the souls succeed? Will they find their killer and move on? According to FNAF 1, they won't. There's no good ending. The machines kept killing innocent people and the killer never returned. There's no indication he ever will, as the newspaper clarifies that he's been convicted. What's more, there's a time limit. The location will close by the end of the year, and it's November. Mike is one of the last night guards to work here. There is an end to the story of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, but it won't give the souls peace. Nothing like that is even implied to happen. Contrary to the entire character of Afton, the narrative states he never comes back. When we look at the overall story of the first game, that point is insanely important. The masked employee cannot return to that story. I'm pretty sure that is the one Retcon Scott mentioned years ago. In FNAF 1, the murderer was captured and convicted. The police couldn't find the bodies, but that doesn't have to mean anything. The narrative of the game assumes that the killer is gone. The victims are waiting and guessing, but that will lead them nowhere. And yet, Scott ignored all of that in the second game. That should be the retcon. It might seem irrelevant because there is a convenient excuse and it looks like there's no contradiction. However, the entire narrative of the game was removed and overwritten. Now he always comes back. It's not irrelevant. It's an entirely different story now. We know the retcon went unnoticed, and that would be correct. Nobody was confused and there was no big debate about the contradiction of the convicted killer. The purple guy was born and we accepted him. I'm not saying it was wrong to retcon the story. While Scott abandoned some themes, he introduced a lot more and the killer was a great foundation for expanding the series. If he didn't return, Springtrap would never have existed. Making a sequel to that hopeless story would be much more difficult. Maybe there would be another killer, or the sequels would become spin-offs of the MCI story. Scott could also lean into sci-fi much sooner. We can guess, but the decision was fair. We lost the narrative, but the fans didn't even notice. An interesting point about the Retcon is the FNAF 1 adaptations. The book, The Silver Eyes, and the first FNAF movie. They both have very little to do with FNAF 1. In either case, the victims don't even want revenge. William Afton is always nearby, misleading the souls into his own twisted version of the happiest day. The victims don't want to move on. Instead, they protect the abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. William didn't become the Yellow Rabbit for defense. He used that persona to manipulate and control the kids. That narrative is very consistent with the current lore, with William, who always comes back. He's obsessed with the pizzeria, with Spring Bonnie and the victims. He never left, so there is hope for the victims. But that's not consistent with the first game. I think Scott created Follow Me to incorporate William into FNAF 1 and show he didn't abandon the souls in 1993, so the first game was adjusted. But there is, or rather there would be, an adaptation that followed the spirit of the original game. I'm talking about the cancelled FNAF Plus, and fan-made but official reimagining of FNAF 1. It didn't try to follow the canon, so it was independent of the overall story. It was meant to be a unique take on the first game alone. By the end of last year, Fiznom talked about what he tried to capture in his game. He wanted the pizzeria to be an unwelcoming place, an empty husk of the great business that existed long ago. The horror comes from disrepair and neglect. It's not a big and colorful location, but a business nearing its end. A brave customer decided to enter the pizzeria yesterday. That's unheard of at Freddy's. Our ideas aren't exactly the same. For me, it's hopelessness, tragedy. For Fiznom, it's neglect and ruin. Perhaps urban legend. But I think we both come from the same place. It's a different side of the same coin. I focus on emotions while he thinks more of the visuals and vibe. Both approaches are great. I'm sure I would find my hopelessness in his story. I can already somewhat see it. Fiznom revealed that Chica would be decommissioned in the middle of the story after she tried to attack a customer. In the original game, the customers were relatively safe because the machines couldn't run freely during the day. FNAF Plus takes that further. Even though there are so many precautions, the company still cannot hold it together. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza is crumbling to dust in real time. Chica is gone from the stage in the middle of your playthrough. We were also supposed to see Foxy crying and trying to escape the building, and that's another powerful instance of hopelessness. The victims are in absolute pain. I'm not sure how FNAF Plus would deal with the initial problem of the video, which is the killer's fate and the topic of revenge. Fiznom said there would be the puppet pulling the strings, but I don't know the proper motivation of the victims. How hopeless were the ghosts supposed to feel? It could go my way. Obviously, there's no correct way to adapt these themes and ideas. Fiznom expanded on what he loved. I would try to expand on different elements, but nonetheless, you can see his deep understanding of the ideas Scott put into the first game. Many elements build off the atmosphere of FNAF 1. There are the hopeless efforts of the victims. They are looking for the killer, but he's not coming back. He was convicted, and he might very well be dead by now. But the animatronics have already killed countless innocent people, and we cannot overlook that. That's the meaning of the story. It's a desperate attempt, and these deaths meant nothing. After the pizzeria closes in November or December, they will never have another chance to find peace ever again. These characters will live on. Yes, they will, and they will suffer forever. The story leads to a definite ending, and it's tragic. There is a neglected pizzeria, and the game shows its pitiful state. We can read about how their reputation is gone forever. We can hear about how the company doesn't even care if you survive or not. You are desperate for money, and you're desperate for your life. The gameplay wants you to feel hopeless. Fun Guy's death adds even more to it. The one who held your hand and told you how to survive didn't survive. You've reached the point where he has failed, and you're alone. You don't know what's ahead of you. All of that is the vibe and the narration of the first game, or at least my take on FNAF 1. You can find much more in the story. Some elements didn't resonate with me, but they will resonate with you. But I believe all of that leads to a solid conclusion. He never comes back. The killer was convicted. He could be rotting in jail, or he might have even gotten a death sentence. I don't know the laws of America in 1980s. Either way, he's out of reach, and they will never find him. That's my theory about the initial story of FNAF 1.